Bobby Dean, and you're watching Dante's Boxing Nation.
Dante's Boxing Nation, what's going on, guys? Well, as I predicted, 2016 is going to be an epic year of boxing. It was just recently reported that the undefeated pound-for-pound champion, Andre Ward, versus the Cuban undefeated fighter, the mandatory at light heavyweight, Sullivan Barrera, is damn near finalized. And they have agreed to all stipulations, so the fight should officially be announced anytime now. First thing I want to do is first commend Sullivan Barrera for taking this fight, because I had my doubts. I didn't think that Team Barrera would take this fight, not really because of Barrera, but mainly because of Abel Sanchez. And I'll talk more about that later on in this video. You know, it was Abel Sanchez who led the charge, basically saying, you know, they want us to fight Andre Ward, but they're offering very little money, etc., etc. Usually when you hear something like that, that's not a good sign. And usually the fight doesn't get made. Let me go ahead and clarify what I just said a second ago when I said that Sullivan Barrera was the mandatory. What I basically mean is he's the mandatory, the IBF mandatory challenger for Kovalev's belt. So he's taking a big risk. Matter of fact, you know, he's risking his position that he already has to fight Sergey Kovalev, to fight the #1 pound-for-pound fighter in the world, Andre Ward. But at the same time, I guess Sullivan Barrera looked at it as Ward and Kovalev, they're going to fight anyway. Even before I get to fight Kovalev, Ward is going to fight Kovalev. So he probably looked at it as it really doesn't matter if I fight Ward now or if I fight him after, because we know that there's a good chance, even though the Ward versus Kovalev fight is a 50-50 fight, there's a very good chance, obviously, Andre Ward is going to dethrone Sergey Kovalev, right? So I commended Barrera. Now I have to commend Andre Ward. You know, when it comes to the double standards that exist in the sport of boxing, I told you guys a long time ago that when Floyd Mayweather is gone, they're going to transfer that hate to the next guy on the coincidental list, and that would be Andre Ward. Then after Andre Ward, it's probably going to be Terrence Crawford. Then after Crawford, it's probably going to be Errol Spence. And then it'll just continue to go down that list, right? But you decafs have a major problem right now, because these fighters on the coincidental list, they are making it very, very difficult for you to continue the smear campaign. Because when it comes to Andre Ward, have you guys noticed every single thing the decaf has asked Andre Ward to do, he has actually done it? Have you guys noticed that? The decaf said Andre Ward needs to be more active. Now he signs a 3-fight contract deal with HBO, where he's going to fight this year 2 to 3 times, which now makes him just as active, if not more active, than fighters like Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather. And way more active than Sergio Martinez was when he was fighting. Remember, he was plagued by a lot of injuries, and no one ever said they hated Sergio Martinez and he was a son of a bitch and all of this because he was inactive, right? So like I said, the decaf, they asked him to be more active. Then the decaf said, hey, Andre Ward, why don't you leave Golovkin alone and go move up to a higher weight class and go fight that other guy, Sergey Kovalev? Andre Ward, he signed a contract to do just that. Now he's fighting against Sergey Kovalev this year, assuming he gets past the very tough Sullivan Barrera. He did that. Allow me to reiterate. Decaf asked Andre Ward to be more active Andre Ward says, done deal. Decaf says, leave Golovkin alone. Andre Ward says, okay. Decaf says, go fight at a higher weight class. Andre Ward says, okay. Decaf says, go fight Sergey Kovalev. And Andre Ward says, in the famous words of J.O. Felony, I can give it to you, but what you gonna do with it? In other words, I can go ahead and do exactly what you guys are asking me to, but are you guys going to give me the credit that I deserve when I go ahead and do it? Are you guys gonna come out and be honest and say, you know what? I gotta eat a little bit of crow and say, I've been a little hard on Andre Ward, but I think it's time that I give him his credit, because this man has done every single thing we have asked him to do. Think about this for a second, guys. How many big name fighters do you know right now that has done pretty much everything that we have asked them to do? And if they didn't do everything, they at least did something that was similar to make up for it, right? Think about it. When it comes to Canelo Alvarez, we've been asking him to fight Golovkin. We've been asking him to fight Demetrius Andrade, fight the best fighters at 154 since you are there at 155, right? It was just reported that Canelo was planning on fighting 3 times this year. Wouldn't it be damn near a crime if he fought 3 times this year and he ends up not fighting Golovkin, he ends up not fighting Demetrius Andrade, or the Charlo brothers, or Eric Walker, Chris Pearson, one of those top guys at 154, and if not 154, move up to 160. Fight somebody like a Toriano Johnson. But we asked Andre Ward to do these things, and he says, okay. We ask other fighters to do these things, and they say, no way. But meanwhile, Andre Ward is like Burger King. He's saying, you can have it your way. But we asked Gennady Golovkin, you know what, Golovkin, since you said you want to fight Froch, who's retired now, and you want to fight Julio Cesar Chavez, who's been on the decline, who's never been a disciplined fighter, you want to fight them at 168, why don't you just fight Andre Ward, the guy who already beat Carl Froch, the guy who's considered number 2 behind Floyd Mayweather? Why don't you just fight him? We ask him to fight the best. You know what Golovkin says? No way. We say, okay, Golovkin, you're not going to move up to 168 and fight Andre Ward. You're going to stay at 160. Since you're fighting against Willie Monroe, and you got fighters like Billy Joe Saunders and Danny Jacobs that won't fight you, which is not your fault, we understand that, why don't you fight Erislandy Lara, who's aggressively calling you out? A guy who, it could be argued, actually beat Canelo. A guy who has already fought on pay-per-view, made $1 million already. He's making around the same money you're making. We asked Golovkin, why don't you fight him? No way. There's not too many fighters that are willing to do what Andre Ward is doing right now. You see, the decaf is always trying to find a way to justify their hate, right? They're never going to turn around and say, okay, now you did what I asked you to do, so now I'm going to give you the credit. No, they're always trying to find a way to take credit away from you. See, decaf, what you actually did in the process of trying to hate so much on Andre Ward, you actually made things harder for yourself. Because when Andre Ward was about to fight on Canelo's undercard against an Alexander Brand or whoever it would have been, you criticized that so much that Andre Ward actually stepped his game up to a different or a higher level, I should say. So now you have Andre Ward, who at first was going to fight on the undercard just to once again get acclimated to a new weight class, which made sense. You know, he had been off for a year or whatever it was. He's just shaking off the webs. That's all he was doing. Now, because you guys have been talking, or part of the reason, now Andre Ward is raising the bar even higher. So all the hating that you guys did actually backfired on you. Because now you're going to be forced to admit that not only is Andre Ward doing what you asked him to do, but he's doing more than the fighters that you actually praise. Think about that. Andre Ward is about to fight one of the best light heavyweights in the world, the IBF mandatory Sullivan Barrera. Sullivan Barrera is on a 6-win knockout streak right now. And once again, he has a Cuban amateur pedigree. I had the pleasure of watching this man, Sullivan Barrera, train. I had the pleasure of watching Barrera actually spar with Gennady Golovkin. Okay? And all I'm going to tell you is he did good. Right? He did good. And I'll just leave it at that. What I seen him do in the ring with Golovkin, it further convinced me that this is a real fighter in Sullivan Barrera, and this is a hell of a test for Andre Ward, especially when it comes to moving up to a higher weight class. Now let's talk about Abel Sanchez, who is coincidentally Sullivan Barrera and Gennady Golovkin's trainer. This fight puts a lot of pressure on Abel Sanchez. Oh, it puts a lot of pressure on him. Because when it came to this whole Ward versus Golovkin feud, it was really only one person in Golovkin's camp that was constantly talking real greasy about Andre Ward. And it was Abel Sanchez. This man done went from calling Andre Ward a diva, which is another word for bitch. He's talked about how, he's irrelevant and he's just trying to use Golovkin's name to stay relevant. He can't sell tickets and etc., etc., etc. Now, you're going to have to make sure that your fighter doesn't lose to a quote-unquote bitch, a diva, right? Now, this is your opportunity to prove that Andre Ward never deserved to be in the ring with your golden egg, Gennady Golovkin. Now you have an opportunity to prove that you can come up with a game plan and beat Andre Ward. Abel Sanchez, he also said because Andre Ward was so inactive, that's the reason why he would lose to Kovalev. Now you have an opportunity to prove that your philosophy on inactivity was an accurate one. Every single thing that Abel Sanchez said about Andre Ward will be put to the test in this fight on March 27th. That's all I got. I'm on to the next one.